Hello, hello. It's DNN Dave, and I got my friend Will Strohl here. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. It's a hot Saturday.
It is hot. We got a little bit of overcast here going on now, and probably our little afternoon thunder shower getting ready to happen. But you know how it is in the South.
Yeah, I do not miss thunder showers or hurricanes or humidity.
Yeah, you were down in Florida before, right? So you really know that.
Yeah, something like 15 years ish. I don't
Oh
know.
man.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you joining me today. We're going to talk about going to have a kind of a quick live stream here, but this is to encourage people to test when we have a release candidate getting ready for an official release of DNN Platform. So let me switch over to my other screen here. And recently we tried something out new a little bit on this one and put a post on Facebook, go where people are, right? I mean, where it's convenient for them to respond. So we posted out here that we were looking for testers because this is one of our areas that we have the most room for growth, probably, even though we do kind of have a testing team, if you will. It's a minimal number of people. So the more hands that get on this, the more eyes we get on it, the better the quality of the official release is, and we can catch a lot of things before the official release so they can be fixed. So that when the release comes out, it's real stable and it's real reliable and can be trusted. So we have a history of that not being the greatest scenario, and we're breaking that paradigm. So that's really great to see. So yeah, Will, thanks for joining me. And we're just going to jump into one of the first items on the list. Do you have anything to add, by the way, on the testing? I mean, I know you've done a lot of testing over the years.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where if you don't test, you don't know. And especially if you have any custom code out there or clients out there with code, or you have any open source extensions out there, like if you don't test, there's only one person to point at if something goes wrong.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Um,
indeed.
But as far as like stability, I think we've been really good over the past few years. Like pretty much since, I mean, there's been a couple hiccups, but like we've been good since we took it over as a community.
That's true. That's true. It's getting better and better. And I'm excited about this one because this is one of the first .0 releases, I guess, in a while. And it's going to be a good one. It's got a lot of cool stuff in it. And yeah, so let's jump right in. I think the one I wanted to try to tackle here first, I had signed up for several of them myself and wanted to jump into just a pure clean install of DNN. So we're going to go and grab the release, and I'm not really going to download it, but I wanted you guys to see where to get the releases if you don't know already. If you go out to github.com/DNN software/DNN.platform, you'll get to where the actual product lives, open source product. And recently, GitHub changed their interface just a little bit. Some say for the better, but releases are now no longer in a little sub tab here. They're actually over on the right. So if you go to the releases area, you'll see that the release candidates would show up there. Now, release candidates are going to have an RC designation to them, and they'll have a nice little indicator here of pre-release. So you'll notice this is RC2 that we're talking about today. So there's already been a release candidate 1, and now we're on release candidate 2. So some fixes have already been made based on testing reporting. So it's really good to see that. And then, of course, the official releases are on down the page here. So they'll be marked as latest release and so forth. So we're really just wanting to test the RC2 today and give it a little bit of a smokescreen test here. So let me switch over. Instead of downloading this, by the way, if you were going to download this directly, you can do that in the assets section right here, and you can get the install package or the upgrade package or whatever your particular test scenario is going to be. You can grab those from there. But we're going to actually use a handy dandy little tool.
Well, hold on a second. Are you going to introduce your co-host right behind you? Oh, never mind. They ran away.
Oh, is that my dog? Yeah, he came around. This is Clopper, everybody. So, yep, he just wants some attention right now. So I flipped over into my Windows virtual machine here, and I'm going to use a tool called MV QuickSight, which will, I'm kind of glad that you're here because like you kind of inspired me to create this tool, and it was a void that was missing for a while, and we were able to pull off getting a nice little quick install. So in less than a minute, you can easily download and install DNN on your local machine. Now, if you haven't used this before, you can get that at mvquicksite.com if you'd like. But if you don't see release candidates showing up in here, this will be the latest release candidate if one is out right now. If not, you would see the other releases, official releases here. But if you do not see those and there is a release candidate out right now, you might have to go into NVQuicksite settings here and make sure that the show release candidates box is checked there. So, all right, so this is definitely the one we want to test. So let's go ahead and install this. This will just give us a nice clean install. So it's downloading that package that I showed just a few minutes ago from GitHub.
And I would characterize it as I inspired you to create this as much as when I describe it, I pretty much say I bullied you into it.
Well, yeah, manipulated, coaxed, yeah. Yeah, I still like to think of it as an inspiration. I mean, you were the one cheering me on. I guess I think it was a weekend that it took to kind of develop the initial one here, so it was pretty fast.
Impressed. It didn't take you long at all.
So I'm going to give this a name here. Let's see. This is 9.7.0, and since I'm going to be doing multiple installs here during the testing, I'm just going to make this a little bit more verbose, and I'll put a -1 at the end of it. And that is the area that I want it to go into. I'm going to leave the defaults here, and I've got a .loc. So this will really be the URL that we use to visit it in just a minute. So we'll go next. Now it doesn't see that location already on the hard drive, so it's going to create the folders necessary. And that looks good for a database name. You can usually just go with the defaults that you use based on the name for the URL. And now it is actually unpacking that install package into that directory and setting up IIS, setting up permissions in the folders, and it's setting up a host file update there to make sure that your URL works locally there when you visit it in the browser. Interesting. This one's taking a little bit longer than normal.
I find whenever you're doing anything like with screen sharing or recording, any kind of like file manipulation like this usually takes longer for some reason.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, because this is usually pretty fast right here. It's still going faster than doing it all manually, right? So.
Oh, for sure.
So that's good. We're almost done here, and it's going to go ahead and prompt us to visit the site, so we're ready to go. Now, at this point, we really just have set up the environment, and now it's going to kick off the actual DNN install script here. So we just want to make sure that this runs without error and, do some little smoke screen tests here in it and make sure everything looks pretty good. And then we'll report our results back to the testing team.
Yeah, so it's for anybody that doesn't run DNN from scratch regularly, this first page load always takes a long time. And there's not really much to get around that.
Yep, that is a good point. And I just switched over while we're waiting here for this to load. I just switched over my default browser to be the new Microsoft Edge. I'm actually really digging it since all the Chrome extensions are working in it. Okay, so far so good. I'm gonna give it a good go at it, anyways.
Yeah, I haven't switched over to it, but I did kind of just test it out briefly, and I was really impressed at how much was imported from Chrome, and it was done well.
Yeah, everything was just there for me when I did it. I was pretty impressed by it as well. So we'll do RC2, and I'm going to just put a 1 here at the end just to show this is my first one that I've done. And obviously I didn't choose my email address there. So yeah, this is the regular DNN install page. Now, when you're using NVQuicksite, you don't even have to go into this area, but if you wanted to see what was in there, it already pre-populated everything that we need for that, so you don't even have to worry about that. And we'll click continue and see what happens here.
And it's also worth noting, if all we're doing is testing, technically all you would needed to have done on that page is just add a password for the super user.
That is true. Oh, that's interesting. Review remarks. Yeah, maybe later. We'll see.
Yeah, maybe later.
Maybe never.
Don't you know we're recording?
And this is always a good one. I always watch for that 18% for it to get past that 18%. and then I know I'm usually pretty good to go there. But if it gets hung on that 18%, we know something's wrong.
Yeah, and then when that happens, you just start over. You can just wipe it out and start over. And that other thing about the first page load starting slow, that's kind of a one of those things where like, okay, it's taking a minute. Okay, cool, everything's working.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because you would see something pretty quickly if it was not set up properly. 500 error or something like that. That's one of the reasons I like to use MV QuickSight, because it just takes care of a lot of the permissions and stuff like that.
Exactly.
That setting that up manually every time is just for the birds there.
Yeah, before NV QuickSight, and I'm speaking from somebody who installs DNN at minimum 2 to 3 times a day, I think. The amount of, when I timed it, the fastest I was able to get from point A to point Z in the install process was 4 minutes, and this is significantly cut down on that. But I'm somebody who does it on a regular. Like somebody else will take like 10, right? So this will save
That's
you
true, or
easily
more.
5
Yeah,
minutes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you probably had some nice little helper stuff set up to where you didn't have to rethink everything every time too. So, yeah.
Yeah. When you do it that often, you try to find shortcuts, especially if it's something that's not going to be client facing. Because the only reason I'm creating sites that often is like I might be answering a forum post or a support ticket or like does this work in that version or something like that.
Now I don't know if this is that was not bad total time, but I noticed it taking longer around the mid range there than it normally would. And I don't know if that's because of my screen share here or not, but I'm kind of taking a mental note of that to see if there's something there. But no errors, so that's good. And let's go ahead and visit the website. It should log us in already as the host user. And
Yeah. So in my experience, this like the progress bar goes like 50% ish, at least in the positioning, and that's when it's saying create whatever the website name is that you gave it. And so it might be saying create my website, and then that takes like bulk of the time usually, and I'm not sure why. And then all of a sudden it's 100% done.
Yeah, it seemed like it jumped from like 57 to 100% there in flicker.
Yeah.
And of course now we have to wait for that first load kind of thing again here because we just changed files in the bin folder and the web config actually, I guess too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that'll initiate a deployment to the global assembly cache there. This is a good sign. We see the persona bar, so that's good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what would you normally do here at this point? We'll just check the admin logs and see what's in here, if anything, or what would you do at this point, just as a smoke screen?
Yeah, and I do a small handful of things. So I make sure, the admin logs is one thing, looking at the developer tools, the console, seeing if there's any exceptions there as well. So like we already have a schedule exception. That's interesting. But that could be some conflict. But I don't think I've seen that before in previous versions, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't think I have either, actually. So most of this stuff is the initial install stuff.
Yeah. And I also look at the log4net log files from time to time because sometimes there's something there that's not in the admin logs.
Yeah, let's show people where that is because that's I remember that was one thing that people used to talk about all the time. And I'm like, what the heck are you talking about? Log4net? Are you talking about the admin logs or what? I mean, what logs are you talking about? So what he's referring to there, this is where NV QuickSight set up the website. So this is going to be the root of the website. So he's talking about an admin. And no, I'm sorry. Showing how much I really know.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
We're looking in
portals. Excuse me.
My brain was playing a trick on me. I couldn't find portals there. So we're going to go into underscore default and then logs. And these .resource files here are what is referred to as the log4net logs here. So you can actually just open up one of these. I'll open it in code, but you can open it up in Notepad or anything like that as well.
Depending on how big it is, I would recommend any editor other than Notepad.
Yeah, this is true. So we're pretty good here. It looks like we got some CK
So that's
editor
still
stuff.
there.
Yeah.
See those three logs right there? They're not supposed to be there. And Daniel Veladas says he can't reproduce it.
Well, this is a clean install, so this will be a good thing. I'm glad we're recording this because we can just point to the time in the recording where we showed this. So yeah, yeah. I wonder what that when we see something like this and we know that it's related to the CK HTML, the HTML editor provider here for CK editor, we should probably at least go and look at an HTML module on the page and make sure things are coming up. And while we're at it, let's go ahead and inspect the page just to make sure if any console errors are coming up or anything like that. Okay, we'll just refresh the page here. Nothing really out of the ordinary there. That's my Grammarly plugin. Yeah, thanks for that too. I think you inspired that as well.
I love Grammarly.
So we'll go into edit mode here and hopefully things won't blow up. It is running slower than normal for me, so I'm assuming I'm taxing my machine here a bit. Okay, we'll just go into this guy and edit content and see if the editor is showing. And it is showing. Let's flip between there and source. Let's just do a save.
Yeah, I haven't been able to find any issues that are related to that. Well,
so of course we mess up the formatting because CK Editor did some intelligent stuff, right? So that's actually to be expected, unfortunately. So let's go back into edit content. We'll revert it back to what it was in the version history just to make it look good. We'll roll that
and
back.
Don't forget to take your 5-minute break. Parallels is really upset with you.
Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, I started using that little widget there, and it's a bit annoying at times. Yeah, it looks like the at least it's working, the way it normally works there. So I'm not sure what those log errors are for.
Yeah, I haven't been able to diagnose it myself, but what it seems like is maybe it's tried to load the editor before the editor is available in terms of the provider with the spinning up of the site during install. But that's just a guess. The other things that I tend to do, just to make sure things are running is maybe install an extension, create a page. You already edited content, that'd be another one. And then adding user and or roles and assigning them. So those are the most common things to do.
Yeah, I think what I'll do is to keep this one short because this was really just a test of the clean install. I'll probably leave some of those for future streams here. I'll be doing some tomorrow as well, and we'll try doing some of those because I think, if I remember correctly, back on the list of things, one of them was module settings, making sure that you're reading them properly and they're saving properly. So I'll do that probably at the same time that I install a couple of modules that are commonly used. But yeah, so probably the next one I'll do an upgrade from 9.6.2 to that, and then also an upgrade to from 9.1.1 straight from there, and they'll do a comparison of the files and so forth. But yeah, I mean, at least it's working. Let's log out and log back in and make sure that's working okay.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, it's interesting because you start taking some of these little things for granted, and these are really good things to just test as you're going through because you may stumble onto something that's just so normal and expected that doesn't work right. So it's really nice to know about this stuff before the official release, right?
For sure.
Okay. Yeah, and it even remembered my edit mode at that point, so it's interesting.
Yeah, that's cookie. Did you know? I didn't realize this for a while. Did you know? Once you get into edit mode by clicking that pencil, if you click it a second time, you stay in edit mode.
Yeah, across pages. Yeah.
I was missing that forever, and then I was talking to somebody at a client on-site thing, and they're like, and they clicked it a second time, and they're like, look, I stay in edit mode. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Well, I mean, did this big box not help you with that one, or?
I just ignored it. I just thought it was like telling me what I already knew.
Well, I mean, while we're confessing, I used to do this. Whenever you would open up one of the Persona Bar windows, I would always just either hit my escape, button,
Mm,
or just click off of it, and it went away, right? But if you were to
yep.
come back to the page, it flies back out again. And for a long time, I was like, "What in the world? Why would they build it this way?" And oh, looks like somebody fixed that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Honestly, I was about to say I did the same thing, but never mind.
Well, wow, that's interesting. Okay, maybe that got fixed a while back. But I, for the longest time, never saw this X up here, and that was the only way that you could actually keep it exposed. Because watch, if I open that up and then I click off of this, notice that is still showing that selected.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because there's context, because it's still in context. So if you move from view to view, it's still loaded the same way. So that way,
Yeah.
if you have to do multiple tasks, you can do that easily. Now, it will still come out though if you don't close it and you refresh the page.
Oh, really?
Hmm.
So if I do this and then I click off of it,
No, 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 not click off of it. No.
leave it out. Okay,
Yeah.
and then refresh the page.
Yeah. Now refresh the page.
Well, I would kind of expect that. Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. That one does make sense.
Yeah. Well, I guess this is probably good for just a clean install test, and hopefully you guys picked up some little tips here and there from our mistakes in the past.
Well, indeed, and there's things here that like we've done this for so long and so many times that like there's all those little things like you said that we just take for granted. Like I guarantee you, there's things that we just did and said where people were saying, "Oh, wait a minute, what do you do again?" And they probably pause and going back. You
Yeah.
know, like,
That's good. Well, be sure to smash the like button and slam the subscribe. But I don't know, whatever
or you
these
can. Oh,
video log people do. They say smash the like button or whatever. I'm just like, yeah,
next
do
thing you know,
that.
there's gonna be a DN Dave TikTok.
Yeah, smash, slap, whatever, smack.
You heard it
Yeah,
here, everybody. There's gonna be DNN Dave dancing on TikTok.
we don't need to see that. There's certain things you can't unsee. So, well, thanks for joining us. This is DNN Dave and Will Strohl. Thanks for joining me, and let us know if you know of any other content you'd like to see, or if you have questions about this. Comment down below, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.
All right. Bye.